You gonna think less of Grogu?
I don't know. Yaddle looked okay. I think Yoda's just ugly. What's up, everyone, and welcome to the weekly Q&A. For our first question, Shaq Fu asks, who saved Grogu from the Jedi Temple, and could they be an antagonist?
Shaq Fu did specifically ask, will they be an antagonist? But I figured with the trailer coming out, and it does seem like we're going to see more of Grogu's Order 66 experience. Yeah, we can't escape that.
I'm okay. Thanks for asking.
Yeah, we're just going to keep coming back forever. But it does seem like, they kind of put those breadcrumbs down in season 2 that someone saved him from the Jedi Temple or took him. I think the words used are someone took him from the Jedi Temple. So is it going to be a Jedi swooping in and pulling him out of harm's way or not?
I don't know. This is so hard for me to...
The answer is it's fine because he is okay eventually.
Yeah, but it's hard for me to even think of who it might be because I don't want to get too focused on a cameo. So in my mind, it's going to be someone we don't really know, like a random Jedi or Barriss Offee.
Yeah, that was a popular theory after the Book of Boba Fett because
she can redeem herself.
Right. Well, on the walls, on the doorways, there was an insignia that is associated with Barriss, but we don't know for sure. I wouldn't say that is Barriss Offee's room, definitely 100%. Or it might be. They might be trying to tease us. I'm not fully convinced, but I do think it makes some sense for it to be Barriss, even if she's not redeemed yet, if she is helping capture Grogu, because we do know that the Grand Inquisitor, well, we don't know this for sure, but Henry Gilroy, who wrote on the Clone Wars and Star Wars Rebels, basically said that their idea was, we don't see any Jedi Temple guards during Order 66 at the temple because the Grand Inquisitor was one and he killed them all. When the time came, he was activated as well and took out the temple guards. So it's possible that if Barriss is going to be an Inquisitor or something, that she would be active right then. Her cell door could open and someone would be go get him.
That you make a good point about it could not be someone saving him. It could just be someone taking him away. And what if it's the Grand Inquisitor? We already have him in Obi-Wan. We know what he looks like.
That's true too. And a theory that we threw around, and multiple people have thrown around online, is that what if Grogu is taken to Mount Tantus or something?
Straight there, yeah.
And we've kind of joked about, or people have said, what if the Bad Batch saves him from the Jedi Temple? But, we know that's not possible. But they could save him from Mount Tantus if he's there.
Yeah.
And originally I was don't put Grogu in the Bad Batch, but I feel like they've done enough building to Mount Tantus and stuff that now they could do it.
Yeah.
That I would be okay with it. They took their time with it, and it wasn't just a throw him in the first season kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. I like to think that Anakin is behind that door, Anakin/Vader, and he gets into that room, and he's slaughtering everybody, but he sees Grogu, and he's like, you know what, I can't do it.
He's this is a mistake. What am I doing?
Take him to the thing for the experiments. I can't do it.
Well, being one of Yoda's species, and we know that Yoda or Yaddle is gone now, so there are limited options if Palpatine was I want one of them to do experiments on. It's Grogu's
that baby.
Yeah, I would like to see the baby. So I think that there is some sense that they might have a list of Jedi to don't kill them, we want them. Not to mention Palpatine tried to collect Force-sensitive babies before, and yeah, he would have been 30 at that point, but still probably young enough.
It's just a baby.
I also think Barriss has some potential because of the Ahsoka series. What if they introduce her in Mando season 3 and then we see her again in Ahsoka?
Yeah, it's possible. Filoni has talked about how he's kind of saving Barriss in his back pocket for something. So he could have put that symbol in there for a hint to just be Dave and be like,
be all Dave about
is
it.
it Varys? I don't know.
I should point out that, like, I think he said that once in an interview years and years and years ago. He's like, I still have story ideas for Barris. So I don't want to pretend that he is every few months like, teasing something about Barris. But I do think that he always has that stuff in the back of his mind, and he's like, hey, maybe it's time for Barris to finally come back.
Yeah. I mean, he could be talking about an idea for something like Tales of the Jedi for Barris.
Oh, also another point I wanted to make about potentially it being an antagonist and not a hero saving Grogu, but just capturing Grogu, is that Ahsoka in that scene in season 2 says that he was taken from the Jedi Temple, and then there's just darkness in his mind. So I don't think he kind of had to re-access those memories about Order 66, all that trauma. So I don't think that if he had happy memories from Order 66 Beyond, that it would be all blacked out.
Yeah, he was probably drugged and knocked out and then woke up elsewhere.
What if they did something to him that's like the opposite of what the clones have, where they age super fast? What if they have made Grogu so that he just never ages and he's a baby forever?
I don't know. I mean, even in the time that we've seen him in the show since the first episode, you can tell he's changed a little bit.
I thought you would be excited at the prospect that he would never grow up.
Yoda's species already lasts a long time. So.
But when he turns into a teenager, are you gonna think less of Grogu?
I don't know. Yaddle looked okay. I think Yoda's just ugly.
Maybe it's just because you're ugly.
Ugly.
Oh no, he's kind of cute in his old 900-year-old sort of way.
Maybe they go from really cute to really old and ugly just like within a span of a year.
I think we've joked about that puberty hits them so hard.
Yeah. David Tonner wants to know if Navarro could join the New Republic and could Greef Karga become its senator.
You know, I kind of like that as a little character arc for him.
I mean, he could be wearing senator robes in that scene. They're fancy robes.
It's a fun thing to explore, the way that Navarro is changing every season. It's getting better and better. Like, more and more people are coming, and Greef was so proud of the changes that they made in season 2. It looks like he is continuing to run this place. If he's the mayor of Navarro or what, I don't know. Mm-hmm. But he seems really proud of the place that he lives now. And I think it would be an interesting arc to start where he is kind of laughing about the New Republic. It's like, if you are upset about the credits I have, take it up with the New Republic. And he and Mando are like, yeah, they're not going to do anything. So if he learns to kind of have faith in this new leadership and he gets to be a voice for his people in the government, I can see that. Yeah.
He could also just, like you said, something like a mayor. He could be more into the idea of local government. He doesn't want to get, I'm not brave enough for politics kind of thing.
Not galactic politics.
Yeah. He wants to just stick around and be in charge and be admired.
It'd be fun if we had like re-elect Greef Karga little posters around Navarro in season 3.
Yeah, but the idea of him having to go to Coruscant might not be something that he wants to do, but you know, we see Coruscant in the trailer, so someone's going there at some point.
Well, he's just another character that's been affected by Grogu, that when we meet him, he's the head of the Bounty Hunters Guild, and he's selfish, and he is going to kill Din and steal the baby so that he can get control of Navarro back from the Imperials. But the baby saves his life, and then he changes his way. Yeah, impresses him with his magic hand, and then Greef Karga changes his way, and now he is like happy to be a community leader and not the leader of the Bounty Hunters Guild for that little sector. Yeah. So already he has a nice arc. It's interesting that we only check in on him every 4 episodes or so.
Yeah. I mean, this whole season, I think, is going to be about everyone kind of settling into their leadership roles. And I think Greef Karga is definitely going to be one of those roles.
I think that's great speculation that I hadn't really considered. But yeah, that Greef is becoming more of a leader. Din is becoming more of a leader. Bo-Katan was a leader might have to learn to become more of a follower. But yeah, just leadership as a theme. I think that's a great point.
And Grogu can lead the world to happiness.
He already is.
Chelsea Stedry asks if we would like to see an adaptation of Fallen Order similar to The Last of Us. Hell yeah!
Really?
Why wouldn't we?
I was kind of thinking no. I was leaning towards no.
You're so stuffy.
Well, I think that there are differences when you're adapting The Last of Us and you're adapting something from Star Wars, anything from Star Wars. I think it's going to cause more trouble than it's worth.
It's possible. You know, I like the idea of this, but I want to see what the story of the sequel game is before I 100% say yes to this idea. Because you do need a good enough backbone of a story to carry a show. A game, it's like a lot of killing animals and fighting and going on these little side quests. So like that wouldn't make for an entertaining show. But depending on where the story goes.
It is something that I think Fallen Order has one of my favorite Star Wars stories ever. I really, really enjoyed it. It was such a good mix of new and familiar, and seeing familiar stuff in a new way. I love the story.
And we get to see Order 66
again. Yeah, that's a big selling point.
And we could go back to the Inquisitorius place.
Yeah, which they already made
there.
that, so why not?
It lives in the volume now.
Yeah, so I would welcome it. Obviously, I love the story, but we've talked about this before, is that even when adaptations have already happened in Star Wars, people get all worried about it. Like, what do you mean? Not me. I mean,
I think you're worrying about the idea of a Fallen Order one.
Not really. Like, I think that I would be able to accept the canon version. Like, you know, you have the game and then you have player input and stuff. Kind of the way that Knights of the Old Republic, there are many different ways that you can play that story, but there is a canon version of it that's Legends now. But there was kind of this is the lore version. Mm-hmm. And they could do that for Fallen Order. But it doesn't have as many choices. And, you know, there'd probably be scenes that if they didn't include it, I'd be bummed.
What do you have the pink poncho?
Right, exactly.
For example.
What cosmetics do we include and what don't we? Is there a whole episode where he's fighting Ogdo Bogdo? I doubt it, but I don't really think that's in the cards in the first place. The Last of Us is one of the most widely celebrated games of all time. A lot more people knew what it was in the first place. Probably not like everyone, but I think that was an easier sell than Fallen Order, where I still come across Star Wars fans that haven't played it or don't know what it is or just kind of vaguely know it. Mm-hmm. So I think that the more likely scenario is we'll finish the Star Wars Jedi story, and then I do hope Cal gets to come into live action. Bring Cameron Monaghan in. I'd love that.
Yeah, give him a cameo somewhere. Now that I think about it, I feel like Naughty Dog, not that they created these games to eventually become movies or TV shows, but I think they have that in their minds somewhere when they're creating something like The Last of Us or Uncharted. They're making these hugely like cinematic games that have like really intricate storylines and interesting characters. So maybe that's something that they think about when they're creating the game, is like, would we want this adapted into a movie at some point?
I mean, I think you're hitting the nail on the head when you just say that they're very cinematic games. They're very story driven. And so I don't necessarily think they were going, one day Uncharted will be a movie, but they're just trying to make a playable movie in the first place. Mm-hmm. A lot of people have described their games that way. And that I feel like Fallen Order is that. It's got great cutscenes, a great story, great characters. So there is a part of me that would be interested in it. But then the part of me that treasures that game and the experience I had with it, I don't know how the adaptation would go.
You don't want to see people hate on the potential show or movie.
Maybe, especially over minor details. Like, just people freaking out over Obi-Wan having a mullet or not in Tales of the Jedi. Just I feel like Star Wars fans are going to really pick apart adaptations more than The Last of Us, where The Last of Us has 2 games and some DLC and like a little more here or there, but it's not this huge connected universe. Like a Last of Us adaptation, I think, is just more easily, people will get excited about it more easily.
Mm-hmm.
Because they're like, as long as you stick to the spirit of the game and the story, we're happy. And so far, they're doing a great job. I did choose this question partially to be like, The Last of Us is amazing so far. Can't wait for the next episode.
Eli is Do or Do Not 7 wants to know if we could see a season of The Bad Batch where Omega is a more rebellious teen.
Yeah, I think so.
I mean, we're kind of headed in that direction. I don't know how old she is at this point.
I was going to say, Eli does point out that there could be some foreshadowing in the first 2 episodes when she goes off on her own to recollect the treasure, that could be like her starting to be a little more independent.
Yeah, I mean, we've got a lot more episodes to cover in this season, and I certainly think there's potential for a 3rd season, so maybe.
She might be in her early teens now. She's probably like 11, maybe 12. That'd be my guess for her age. So
yeah,
if we
let's get her to 13 and see what that looks like.
And there was a time jump in between seasons 1 and 2. According to a press release, it was a couple months. Just months have passed, so not years or anything. But she definitely looks older. Some time has passed. So if we get a season 3, then yeah, like she'll probably be in her teens, and it would be interesting to see her kind of not turn against all of her clone dads, but like push back against them a little bit more.
Yeah. Does she have the accelerated aging?
No, I mean she would be she would be
right
their height otherwise.
So yeah, she's gonna age normally. Yeah, I don't know, because like one of the core messages of Bad Batch so far is like how they're teaching each other different things as a family, and like they're kind of her space dads, and like that will continue to be the case when she gets a little older, but I don't know how that would translate for this show if she gets too old.
Yeah, I don't know how far they're gonna get through her life in this series, how many seasons it will be. But like we did do a bit of a rebellious stage for Ezra when he got the Sith holocron. I wish they'd done more with it. But I do think that's kind of what that was meant to represent. So I think it would be...
Cut his hair.
Yeah.
It's like, I look cool now. I'm going to be friends with Maul.
Yeah, I'm going to fall in with the wrong crowd. But I think that there is some good storytelling potential to introduce. It'll make me sad. Like, I don't like episodes of shows where friends are in conflict. The early episodes of season 7 of Parks and Recreation, those give me anxiety when Leslie and Ron are
fighting.
when they're not friends. But then when they become friends again, like it's one of my favorite episodes because of that conflict. So there's pros and cons.
Chase Hauser asks how we felt about Willow and its similar themes and character dynamics to the sequel trilogy.
I'll let you start on this one.
Hi, Chase. I loved Willow. I had to catch up on it. I was like behind it for the whole time that it was out, during like all the holidays and stuff, but I really liked it. And yeah, it definitely feels Star Wars-y to me. There's
the themes,
yeah, there's obviously there's found family. You've got this like group of scrappy kids that all, come together. But I got a lot of like Rey and Luke relationship vibes throughout the series.
Oh, the very first episode is The Force Awakens, where they're like, we need to go find Willow.
Yeah.
And then he is training Alora throughout. I really liked I almost called him Wicket. I really liked Willow's fear of, like, was my one big achievement from the Willow movie, is that all I'm ever going to be? And can I repeat that? And also, that was kind of a fluke. So, like, am I great? Am I not? I thought that was a good setup for his character. Overall, I would say I enjoyed Willow. We both got the screeners, and I saw the first 7 episodes early. Molly watched, like, the first 3. So I watched them all, like, in December. and then waited until the finale. And I did want to watch the finale. I was looking forward to that. I enjoyed rewatching it with you as we caught back up. So it kept my interest, but I did not love it as much as Molly did.
Yeah. Well, I like the way that like Willow, they show how Willow has taken his people, his village, underground. Like he is basically Luke going to Octo and hiding away because he's scared that he can't live up to his potential. And that's Luke. That's Luke on Octo.
Yeah, and he has become like this, I forget what they call him, not the Sorcerer Supreme, but the High Alduin. That's his title. And people look to him for leadership, and he is scared. So the root of his darkness being fear, and really that going throughout. I liked a lot of the lessons that he taught Allura about accepting all of your past and using it to move forward. Borman was great. He was probably my favorite part of the series. Ken from Force Center said he belongs in Star Wars as a scoundrel. I would love that.
He would get along great with Han Solo.
Han Solo, Hondo Ohnaka, like any of them. That just take that character, plop him in Star Wars. But I really thought he was great. I liked Graydon a lot as well. I enjoyed the characters. I think there was just some stuff about the execution where it would be a little too modern for my taste.
Yeah.
And I would just be like, huh.
I got a lot of Rey vibes from Allura, even with, like, she had the arm coverings and everything. So it, like, visually, that made me think of Rey. But for me, it was, like, giving me different vibes of different storylines in Star Wars with different characters. So, like, the love story between Han and Leia was kind of between Kit and Jade. Like that was who you were rooting for the whole time. So I liked that. I liked that Kit had the great grandmother, not great grandmother, just her grandmother was like this terrible force of evil, and Rey realizing
that's true,
that she's a Palpatine. So like that connects. There's a lot of connections that are going on, but with different characters.
Yeah.
That remind me of Star Wars.
I do appreciate that it was just a fun, lighthearted fantasy, where a lot of fantasy lately has been very heavy. And that's great that's an option out there. I liked Game of Thrones. I'm enjoying House of the Dragon. Rings of Power is kind of in between the lighthearted and also very serious. But this is just like young adult, lighthearted. I don't mean that as an insult. Like Star Wars is young adult. So,
yeah. Well, your initial review video that you made, like telling Star Wars fans how they might react to Willow, you brought up Lord of the Rings and how so many people watched Lord of the Rings not knowing the lore behind it, not having read the books, and still loved it, like me. So I like that Willow is a show that you can watch, and the lore is a little confusing. Like, they don't even seem to really understand it, but I like that because you don't have to understand every bit of the background lore to enjoy it.
There is that. There's something to be said about watching a show, and that's really, you have to have seen a movie. Not really have to have. I recommend you see the movie first, but you just get to watch it, and everything you need to know is from that other 2 hours, and it's not like you feel like you're missing out if you haven't read all these comics and books and stuff. And then at the end they do tease that there might be more seasons. There's been no announcement yet, but that there is potentially more story here. So that excited me. I was like, oh yeah, I'll watch more of this.
Yeah. I mean, I don't want to spoil the ending for anyone who hasn't watched it yet, but there's a scene at the end that also connects heavily to a certain character in The Rise of Skywalker that I really like.
I don't know what you're talking about.
We'll talk later.
Okay.
But when you bring up the movie, just real quick, I do think people should watch the movie, not necessarily so that they'll understand the show better, but just for Mad Mardigan.
Oh, yeah.
Val Kilmer is so good in that movie, and the music is great.
Okay, yeah,
watch it just for him.
Mad Mardigan is amazing. I've said this before, that I don't have as huge of a connection with Willow as I do Star Wars, Indiana Jones, other Lucasfilm things. But I do remember vividly after watching Willow going outside with a broom and like flipping it around, because Mad Mardigan does all these crazy flips with his sword, and I would just go out and try to do them because Mad Mardigan was the coolest. That's my biggest gripe. Since if you're gonna bring it up and hum it, especially, Willow's theme song is amazing. It's such an earworm. It gets stuck in my head all the time, and they barely used it in the series, and that just makes me sad because I wanted them to build to like a big moment to use that song.
Well, I mean, they made that specific song about kind of Mad Mardigan in the series, which I liked. Anytime like Allagash was talking about him, you could hear the song in the background, and a couple times I think when Sorsha was talking you heard it, but I do wish they used it a little more.
They used it in the trailers, and it's like a new version of it, and I was like, yeah! And it just never... that version never happened in the series. So maybe in season 2.
Maybe. I think there'll be more seasons. They set it up they literally show you like 3 books on a shelf, and so like this is going to be part 1. Maybe we'll see part 2 and 3.
I'm hopeful, but... part of me also was like, okay, John Kasdan, like he said that Solo was written with a trilogy in mind, and I'm like, you're just doing it again. Like, I think that...
don't break our hearts.
Yeah.
Go check out Chase's YouTube channel at That Gay Jedi. They talk about Willow and Star Wars, and they are also on Pink Milk. We're going to be together with some other people on Casterly Talk, which is another YouTube channel, talking all about Willow, doing a big recap video live stream tonight, which will already have been out by today when you're watching this.
Way to make that not
Can I get
confusing.
it any more complicated? Yeah, go check out Chase, That Gay Jedi. Go check out Casterly Talk, the big Willow finale.
I'll put links in the description.
On to YouTube questions. ShamSham12 asks if we've seen any of these samurai or Western films that inspired Star Wars.
Not a ton, honestly. It's a blind spot that I have that I feel like I should fill in. I have seen The Hidden Fortress, and I have seen The Searchers. So there are 2 that heavily influenced Star Wars, but I know there are way more.
Yeah, I have not. I don't feel guilty about it. I don't feel like a bad fan, but I do feel like at some point I should check it out.
It's really interesting just to see, and both times that I watched one, it was specifically because I was going to do videos covering those films and their influence on Star Wars. So I think it's worth doing, but I don't think anyone's a bad fan for not have seen anything by Kurosawa.
Yeah. As far as the Westerns go, like, I grew up, my dad would watch Westerns all the time, and they weren't really, like, the fun kind. They were just kind of, for me, for, like, a little girl, I was, like, so bored out of my mind when he would have those on. So.
You probably have seen The Searchers.
Probably. I mean, yeah, it was probably on at some point.
I would not call that the fun kind of Western. Like, it's pretty down.
Yeah, but I do want to see some of the samurai films that Star Wars is heavily influenced by.
I've wanted to watch more Kurosawa for a long time. It's like it's always staring at me and for my to-do list, and one day.
Yeah. Matthew Kelly wants to know if Rampart lied to Crosshair about Cody defecting. Is he actually dead?
I think that Cody is genuinely AWOL. He's still alive. We'll see him in the future. We've been getting this question quite a bit, but it's still got a lot of upvotes.
Yeah, I don't see Rampart having any reason to lie about this to anyone, especially Crosshair. I think he would, in fact, boast about it and use Cody as an example to the others of like, don't think about it.
Exactly.
Look what happened to this guy.
Yeah, he'd be like, CC2224 tried to escape, and so we executed him for being a traitor. Like, unless he were trying to be sneaky and see how Crosshair reacted to like hearing that Cody went AWOL, but he just didn't act like it. The way that he was like, who's Cody? And then Crosshair tells him, and he's just like, oh, yeah, he's gone. Like, there just wasn't anything that felt deceptive about it to me.
Yeah, and I feel like the more clones that defect like that, the easier his job becomes because they have to figure out what to do with all the decommissioned clones.
Also, an off-screen death for Cody would not sit well with me,
No.
especially after that fantastic episode.
Mal7 asks if we'll ever see another continuity reset in Star Wars. Oh God, I hope not. That would literally kill me. I would expire.
We have Legends and double Legends and canon. Yeah.
I can't take it.
I don't think we have to worry about that. I won't be surprised to if a long time from now, because I mean comic continuities, they have to restart here or there. It's happened before. There's precedent, just not so much within Star Wars. I think we're a long ways off from that still. It's not like DC, the DCEU, which is like, okay, we're just going to start over and try again. I don't think Star Wars is at that point.
Yeah, if there's a continuity reset or a multiverse that happens, I hope we're super old and retired by then, because I don't think I would have it in me to cover that.
Like, we're only almost 10 years into this new continuity, the new canon, and the old one was like, I can do math, almost 40 years old. Granted, a lot of it happened in the last 20, but still, I think that the way that they're working about it now, they don't need to do a reset. Also, Star Wars isn't like the MCU or the DCEU where it's like one continuous story moving forward. You can jump anywhere. So instead of having to like reset the whole universe, I think they'll just be like, hey, let's go 4,000 years in the past for a while and hang out.
Oh, what I was gonna say, I saw this little Lego hairpiece and I thought it was a turd.
Did you think Pippin did that?
Yeah.
Just smell it, it's fine. That's all the time we have for questions today. If you want to leave a question for next week's video, just put it in the comments below or sign up for Patreon to join our weekly Q&A discussion. If you haven't already, please like this video, subscribe to the channel.
Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok.
And as always, thanks for watching, and may the Force be with you.